The trial captivating a nation.
Read is accused of killing her boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe. The defense claims she was framed in a police cover-up.
On the scene to keep you informed at every turn.
In Dedham, Katie Benoit, NBC 10 News.
With live updates and legal analysis.
What happens then? Does the trial have to stop?
A lawyer's only as good as his or her word.
They failed miserably and they'll continue to fail.
On air, online, and on the app. NBC 10 News has the latest on the retrial of Karen Read.
Hi, everybody. I'm Gene Valicenti. The court action is over for the day, so let's get to our daily debrief on what's been going on in the Karen Read retrial. Joining me is NBC 10's Katie Benoit, who's up there almost every day. Katie, we're going to hear from Karen Read outside court. She had something to say today about an accident reconstruction witness called by the state who gave his version of what he thinks happened. And he actually put grease paint on his arm to show that this is what happened when the car backed into John O'Keefe. He'll play the part of John O'Keefe. So let's go and look at that video, and then we'll have a better understanding of what Karen is going to refer to when she's asked about this and when she downplays the significance of it. So that is Dr. Judson Welcher. He's from Aperture, the accident reconstruction. The video will actually roll at some point, and you'll see him reenacting what it's like to get hit by the rear end of that car, by the tail light section, and then he's got grease paint on his arm, and he shows where that, or he's rather got grease paint on the car, and he shows where that grease paint goes, and he's trying to show that it matches up exactly with wounds on John O'Keefe, on John O'Keefe's body. But Karen Read's not buying it. So let's roll what Karen Read just said outside about the accident reconstruction from Dr. Judson Welcher with Aperture. Roll that. She doesn't think much of it.
Karen, did you think Dr. Welcher's recreations were good with the test dummy and the lancing glove?
And the grease paint on his arm? No.
Karen, did you?
And he backed up into himself at 2.2 or something miles per hour. So he tried to dress identically to John, but didn't do anything else to mimic what the Commonwealth is accusing me of.
So did you go in reverse 24 miles an hour, 53 feet?
The data is what the data is, and it's going to come out cleanly, more cleanly in our case in chief. I think it's important to demonstrate what is the Commonwealth accusing me of. The speed, the positioning, recreate that for us. Back up into the crash test dummy at 24.2 miles an hour in the arm and see what happens. That's what I would want to see if I were you.
Do you recall that at all, Karen?
No.
Thank you, guys.
Karen, if you're calling Proctor, given that his friends are now witnesses on your list?
No comments.
Karen, who are these 4 new witnesses? Can you say anything about them, what they're going to testify to? Or are you going to take the stand? AJ, you get to go.
No comments.
Okay, we heard the most significant part. She's really downplaying this accident reconstruction. And again, we could roll more of that video as we're discussing this with NBC 10's Katie Benoit. He's standing by the car in the rear, and he's reenacting what he believes to have happened. John O'Keefe gets hit. The smear of grease paint from the car goes on his arm, and he's making his case. And he's the witness for the state, which, by the way, he's the last witness for the state. He's yet to be cross-examined, so this could go certainly into tomorrow and Thursday, and who knows, by the end of the week. All right, go ahead, Katie, you pick it up.
Sure. So I think something that's actually interesting about this video, you can see the crash reconstruction expert was actually wearing not the same clothing, but the same type of clothing. So the same shirt as John O'Keefe and the same jeans, which is interesting. Mm-hmm. He was wearing the exact same clothes, not the ones that he actually wore when he was found, but the same brand. Yep. You can see he's kind of walking in to the taillight there, kind of showing there's a lot of questions about those injuries on John O'Keefe's arm, whether they came from a broken taillight, a dog attack. So that's kind of where those injuries are, those abrasions that we've seen pictures of multiple times.
Yeah, and he's carrying a glass because we believe John O'Keefe had a glass because they'd been drinking out that night. So he's basically setting up what we believe happened, right? Or what the state rather believes happened.
Yes, except that vehicle obviously wasn't going the same speed as the state alleges it was going at the time of the alleged collision. So he kind of walked into the taillight more, kind of just demonstrating where O'Keefe's arm might be along the side of the SUV.
Yeah, nobody is disputing that the data shows the car was moving at just over 22 miles an hour. Is that correct?
Yes, Read outside of court said the data is the data. They're expecting to call their own crash reconstruction experts, so it should be interesting to see what they have to say when the defense starts their case, which probably will be at the end of this week, maybe the beginning of next week. But this is expected to be the last week of the prosecution's case. Like you were saying, Gene, today that's the last witness they're supposed to call. So.
Okay, this is Judson Welcher, the accident reconstruction witness, talking about the clocks. There's a clock in the black box of the SUV, and John O'Keefe's phone also is keeping time, and he's gonna square the two and see if he can get him to where he wants him to be for the state. Go ahead and play that, and then you could fill that in.
122358 number. What's the significance of that?
So that is Mr. O'Keefe's cell phone data at point 154. Again, from the original data we had, just at 154 and 155, and not the in-between points. So.
And at the bottom in parentheses, explain to us what that means.
Sure. If you look at where the text stream math works out to be, 122338.8, and compare that to 122358, the difference between those two is 19.2 seconds.
The difference between which clocks?
Between what the text stream infotainment system would show compared to what point 154 on Mr. O'Keefe's cell phone is.
And based on new data, do you now have information about what the variance, the difference is between the clock on the Lexus infotainment and the clock on Mr. O'Keefe's cell phone?
Yes.
And what is that?
Objection, Your Honor.
I'm going to allow that.
It's, you need to advance the text stream clock 21 to 29 seconds.
Okay, well, there's a discrepancy, and again, this is where we get in the weeds with clocks and seconds and what's the significance. Take a shot at it, Katie, and let's see if we can make it simple for our viewers today.
Sure. So you may remember Shannon Burgess from last week, who was on the stand and had a lot of questions about his resume. So he took a second look at the data, and the time frame of the alleged collision was different from the original report. So the significance of this is John O'Keefe's phone was last locked at a certain time, and that time falls within that window that this alleged backup collision event occurred. So it's really all about kind of matching this backup event to some of John O'Keefe's last movements.
Okay, now there was a controversial answer to a question today that the judge struck from the record. Set that up and then we'll listen to it. What was this about, and did the jury hear it? And it's hard to unring the bell. Go ahead.
So there was a couple of questions towards the end of the day today about whether or not a crash happened, and the prosecution asked the expert, and he says that a crash did happen. That's what he believes, and he said that's what happened when answering a question from Hank Brennan. That was objected to and stricken from the record. And then there was, the jury went home for the day, and there was a little bit of arguing back and forth about what he will be able to say tomorrow to the jury, whether he'll be able to say, yes, I believe a crash happened, or he will just be able to, what exactly he'll be able to say. The judge isn't going to issue a ruling until tomorrow on that. So that line of questioning will probably come back up again tomorrow sometime, depending on what she rules on.
All right. Well, I can see the significance of that. You've got an expert witness. If he says the crash happened, that carries some weight, as opposed to these are the factors that lead me to believe a crash happened. All right. So this is the judge taking action on that particular issue we just discussed on his on the words he used to say the crash happened.
It's, again, the trigger event itself was a transition into reverse and then high throttle application. It's a forward motion followed by a lengthy high-speed rear impact or rear motion.
Your Honor, I'm going to move to strike that portion of the answer.
Yes, I'm not going to highlight it. So get the answer again.
Do you like me to ask the question again, Your Honor?
Yes, Mr. Lessie, yes, right. I'll strike the previous answer. Go ahead and ask the question again.
Okay. Do you have an opinion to a reasonable degree of engineering certainty as to the nature of the second triggering event, 1162-2?
Just for the record, Your Honor.
Yep.
Yes.
Could you share your opinion with the jury?
The triggering event was high throttle opening in a transition to reverse. It's a forward motion followed by a higher speed rear motion. And at the end of the trigger event, you're still at 74% throttle.
Okay, well, the jury heard all of that, and despite instructions not to consider some of it, the jury heard it. All right, remind everybody who Hank Brennan is, and we'll hear from Hank Brennan leaving court. Go ahead, Katie.
Hank Brennan's the special prosecutor on this case. He's new to the case, so he wasn't on the prosecution team during the first trial. So he's new to the case and has really taken over. ADA Adam Lally was the lead prosecutor in the last trial. We've heard from him a couple times, asking some questioning, but not too much.
All right, and why is he not under that gag order? Or is he?
So Brennan is under the gag order. They can kind of talk outside of court about the weather, things like that, but both sides are under a gag order. Sometimes they'll say little jokes, sometimes here and there when they're coming outside of court, but yeah, they're both under the gag order, both sides, the prosecution and defense.
I guess at the end of this, we'll have to get a gag order reconstructionist to go over that part of it. Let's listen to this. This is the prosecutor outside court, Hank Brennan.
Afternoon.
Is there light at the end of the tunnel, Hank?
I like your shirt. That's outstanding.
You can talk about scheduling.
How's your back? How's your back, Mr. I got to jump over this thing.
All right.
You're free to go. Have a good night, guys.
Have a good night.
Okay, pretty benign. And finally, this is Karen Read's father, Bill Read. He has spoken before. Let's see. We'll give him the last word today. Roll that.
Overall comments is PhD does not equal an MD. PhD does not equal an ME, and the state's own medical examiner could not determine the manner of death. Additionally, the state's own medical examiner said, consistent with injuries struck by a vehicle, she would have expected something below the waist. So I'll leave it at that for tonight, okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, this is the last witness for the state. Cross-examination when, Katie?
So tomorrow, the prosecution will finish up their direct examination. The judge will make her ruling on what the witness can say about his beliefs about the crash, the alleged crash. And then there will be cross-examination. I think it should be pretty lengthy. So we could see this witness on the stand for at least all of tomorrow, I'm guessing. Maybe even the next day, maybe even Thursday, but we'll have to see about that.
And you think the defense is going to want to start on Friday or delay it, and we'll see you Monday. Fresh start.
I think they'll start. Thursday's a half day, so not sure exactly if they'll start on Thursday, depending. But I believe they want to start their case. Remember, this is supposed to go 6 to 8 weeks. We're already on week 6, so it's getting towards the end here. Well, the last time the defense's case was only a couple days, which I was surprised looking back at that it went by so fast. But there's going to be a more robust case this time around, Karen Read says. So last time I think it was about 3 days. It could be a week and a half this time. Not exactly sure, but I guess we'll find out more when they start their case. We'll probably be starting to ask some more questions about how long that will go.
All right, well, we're going into June at the very least. All right, NBC 10's Katie Benoit. I'll let you go, and we'll look for your reporting on our news at 6. In the meantime, I'm Gene Valicenti. This is our daily debrief. You can also watch Gavel to Gavel coverage right here on the NBC 10 WJAR YouTube channel. We do the debrief every day after 5 o'clock, and I'll see you on the news at 6.
The trial captivating a nation.
The defense had questions about initial evidence collected in red Solo cups.
Solo cups and stuff put in bags.
You don't know where the DNA that's on those things is coming from.
What can we expect from Cross?
A lot.
The cross-examination has been described as aggressive.
I think they have to be very strong with the cross here because they're not allowed to bring in their own expert to talk about police procedures and policies.
NBC 10 News has the latest on the retrial of Karen Read.